Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee, where sports, culture, and community intersect. Join Carl and frequent co-host Hollis Lewis as they dive into engaging conversations with guests from all walks of life. Let's Talk is proudly presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Let the conversation begin on Let's Talk.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee with Let's Talk and my co-host Hollis Lewis. Shout out to our presenting sponsor, attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. As we dive into different topics regarding, in most cases, I'm going to say sports, but sometimes we'll step outside of those boundaries. Today's show, Hollis and I will be discussing,
did Jerry West have the best basketball, and I would say almost sports life, right? Because when you look at obviously what he did in high school, he's, I believe, a All-State, all that, maybe an All-American high school. He was an All-American at WVU, had a great playing NBA career, was a pretty decent coach. He led, I think he coached for 3 years, led the Lakers to a conference championship. And then we know what he did as a exec, not just with the Lakers, but he turned the Memphis Grizzlies around, and he won championships with the Warriors. So did he have the greatest sports life, maybe of any athlete, or is it up there?
I'm going to say, and again, great question, great point. I think you have to look at him, being an executive. I think that administrative piece that he created, like, he built some of the greatest.
The Showtime Lakers.
Yeah.
The
like
Showtime
some
Lakers.
Of the greatest
I believe he
teams ever.
Think of who he drafted. I want to say, I believe he either was at the tail end of his coaching or the beginning of his GM career. I believe he had a hand or something in drafting Magic Johnson.
Yep.
And then he made the trade for a pretty good center who was Lonnie D. Blocks and got a kid named Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
Brought Shaq in.
Yes.
And I want to say, I don't think he was there when LeBron was at the Lakers, or was a beginning at the Lakers.
No, I don't think so.
But I think when you talk about just those three players, when you talk about Magic, Kobe, and Shaq, he brought them to LA and won championships.
And that's what that says about him is he's looking forward. He's looking, and he can see the potential of those athletes that he's cherry picking that he wants. Mm-hmm. And he's thinking, like, how do I match these guys up into this situation? And created an amazing.
And what I also think it does is that it puts in perspective the totality of his greatness as far as being a basketball mind, because not everybody in sports is able to make that transition. A lot of guys can't make the transition from from playing to coaching, or from coaching to being a GM, right? We've seen it with Brad Stevenson at the Celtics. But I think when you take all he did, he may have had one of the greatest sports life ever.
I'm gonna because you said that, I wanna ask this question. Has he got his due here in West Virginia? I think is it because to me, I think somebody like that, there is no space to forget. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's any place to not. Anytime there, there should be a Jerry West Award. There should be, whether it's in college, whether it's at WVU, whether it's in the state.
A good point.
When do we do these kinds of things? Like, why don't we name something after? I have an award. I have a high school award for DBs.
Yeah.
Okay. Come on, Jerry West.
Jerry West.
Like.
Because I know I was talking to some guys here who are WVU alum, and they was talking about, at our Coliseum here downtown, there's a great art piece. It's beautiful, right? It has movement. But one of the things they've said they would like to see is like a Hot Rod Hundley, because he was from the area. He was announcer with the Lakers, #1 draft pick, played at WVU. And I think the same thing probably could be said for Jerry West. I believe he does have a statue in Morgantown.
I think he does.
I believe so.
I think he does.
But I think maybe you should have something in Kanawha County, seeing that he's from here.
Well, I think the problem that I have with our celebration of them, okay, so it could be at WVU, but if you never go to WVU, or Morgantown, you'll never see it.
Yeah.
My thing is, let's bring it somewhere to where everybody's got a chance to see it. Why do we?
It's actually a great point.
Because we don't. And I've said this about the media, and I don't want to come off as if I'm bashing the media, but I just don't know if we do a good job with our great athletes in celebrating them.
Well, I think that would be more. I don't know if that's. I think the media, they do the write-ups, they do what they do, but I think it might be on some local governments, administrators, business people, and different people like that to actually say, hey, we're going to fund this statue, this Walk of Fame. We're going to do something.
But I'm even
to
saying,
honor these guys.
let's do we even talk about them? Like, do we say? Like,
okay, I see what you're saying.
Like, where's the conversation? I could be fine with Jerry West being in every Kanawha County school, every Putnam County school.
I see
So
what you're
you
saying.
see what I'm saying? Like, because every kid has a dream, and you have to see. I can tell you, for me, not even nowhere remotely close to Jerry West, his notoriety or what it should be.
Yeah.
For a kid like me, who's looking for a dream, looking for somebody to pat myself after, because I want to be something. I want to be something in sports. I had a chance to have Robert Alexander because he was right in front of me. My sisters braided his hair back in the day, right? But if I didn't have that contact with him, he goes to the pros, and the only thing you're going to hear about him is some of the negative stuff, and not the fact that he's there. There's no negative being in the league. There's no negative being in the league if you're playing. And I just think that we find ways to bring our athletes down.
I don't, but I wouldn't say that's fair. I don't think anybody's bringing Jerry West down.
No, I don't think
I just don't think he's celebrated. I mean, I don't think he's celebrated.
I'm not saying
you know what? I would say he's celebrated. He's not commemorated.
Okay,
I'd say that.
Yes.
Like I said, I think that us being the capital city, maybe there is something we could do about getting a statue up to say, hey, this is the guy who not only was great when he was local, not only a great player, was this great executive, was this just great basketball mind and person.
And I think, and I don't want to jump off this yet until we make sure that we're kind of right there in the same vein. I'm a guy who's looking for somebody to be that star. Like somebody who I can patent myself to be, right?
Yeah.
As an athlete, you're growing up, you're trying to figure that out. Our kids need stories. They need,
you mean local? Local,
yeah, like anywhere, in any community, if there's a local athlete, if there has been a local athlete that has been successful, I don't care if he or she played college ball but was really good in college ball. Celebrate that.
Yeah.
Because these young kids now, man, and you know this, these young kids now that are participating in sports, there's a host of them who have no idea where that sport could take them.
Yeah.
They're and they don't know.
And I think to your point, specifically talking about a Jerry West, when you talk about where a sport can take you, not only, like I said, we've talked about his accolades as a player and his accolades as an exec, but just being the giant, being the architect of all this great basketball that we all love. Sports can take you from Cabin Creek or wherever he's from, East Bank, all the way to, L.A. at the top of the mountain. So
could there be any further trip?
Yeah, could there be any further trip? That's right. And speaking of ball, we had the fever in the sky this weekend. Mm-hmm. So that was Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark, if you want to pit it like that. And
is there any other way to put it?
It was a couple ways to put it. But first of all, excellent game. It was a great game. You could feel the intensity of it. And I just want to juxtapose that with the NBA Finals. So I watched probably about 3-4 games of the NBA Finals. Game 7, I'm watching the NBA Finals, bro. And it's literally just the best players in the world running open gym. I mean, when I tell you, it was just guys running up and down. And it further solidified my point to say, at this juncture, this year, I don't know if it'll go further. I don't know, maybe this is the last year of it. I don't know. But right now, as we stand, women's basketball is a superior sport to men's basketball because of just the grit, the care. I mean, watching that game with, the Sky versus the Fever was like watching a championship game.
It's physical.
It's physical,
which you would like to think that the men's game. But
why did we take the physicality? Why? Let me ask you this. You being from the area that you probably maybe played. I'm not going to say in the most physical area, but what I will say about your area in the time that you played pro football, you played in the area where guys were starting to take their physical health a lot more seriously, working out, training really hard. They were full-time professional athletes. These weren't guys who had other things on the side or doing other occupations during the off season. In conjunction with it being on TV and defense still being prominent, where you guys were really banging at each other. So when you're seeing sports like the NBA or men's college basketball, and there's just a lack of physicality, is that a turnoff for you to watch from watching?
It does. It just looks different. When you start talking about whether it be basketball, I played basketball, but again, wasn't great. But I know.
We're just talking. Forget the sport. I'm just saying the physicality of the contact sports.
The physicality. I think that has no one because of the safety issues that I think everybody's that the leagues are concerned about.
Yeah.
I think they can let the players get away with not bumping a guy.
Okay, and I understand that in football, so we can put football to the side, but basketball? But the basketball we grew up in 70s, 80s, 90s was a physical sport.
But I'm not justifying football. Okay. I'm just saying that I think that everybody wants to make that money, and I don't want to get hurt. So if I can just tiptoe around and get somebody down, and
but is it better for the game?
No, it is not.
It's not better to watch.
It's not.
And what I'm saying, to go back to the Fever versus Sky, when I'm watching Angel Reese, who is totally physical. She's down there grabbing boards. She's pitting it back up. She's hitting the deck. She's diving for loose balls.
Knocking people down.
Even Caitlin Clark. Yes. Even Caitlin Clark. She's taking bumps.
Yes.
She's getting around screens. She's throwing up 3-pointers, making them. I mean, it just looks great watching, to me, what I consider that's real hoop. That's real basketball.
Because they're going at it.
Why ain't I just don't understand why the men ain't just why.
Because you know what? One, I know you're great. You know I'm great. Mm-hmm. We don't necessarily have to do anything to each other.
You making deals?
Yeah, we making a deal.
We making deals.
You shoot your three, I shoot my three. You dunk, I dunk, and hey, we come out and we both still great.
And we've seen it. For example, if you watch the NBA Finals, defense. If you're not playing defense, you ain't gonna win. I mean, they're literally, and I'm listening to sports, watch sports, and everything like that. And they're literally talking about trading Kevin Durant again. This guy's supposed to be, in his era, the greatest scorer of his era, the greatest offensive threats. He's played on 10 different teams. And the justification is, which is right, is that you got 3 scorers on that team, the Phoenix Suns, but ain't nobody playing defense. And it's when are we going to go back to that, that real ball? Because it's better ball almost in the park.
But they can justify it because of the safety issues.
But wait, come on, do we have safety issues in basketball?
Nobody can afford to get hurt.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I think that no team, no owner, nobody wants to get it. Michael Jordan, back in those days, brother, people was knocking him around, right?
He was getting banged up.
And he had to suck it up and keep playing.
He had to go back and lift weights, and he had to figure out a different way.
Absolutely. But then as time has gone on, people are saying, well, that kind of player, we don't want that kind of contact happening because he's the game. He's the money of the game. He's bringing in all the people who are sitting in the seats.
But I would say, and again, I agree with you on one hand, but on the other hand, I would say that if we don't, again, I'm not saying we got to go back to the bad boy Piston era. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm saying we got to find a happy medium because what I think is going to end up happening, because the basketball is literally almost unwatchable at a men's professional level. It's because, again, when I'm watching the NBA finals, it was 5, maybe 2, 3, and I'm talking game time minutes, stints, where these guys were just running up and down the court shooting. There was one stint, like probably 3 to 4 minutes in game time, nobody was even scoring the basketball because they were just bricking shots. And ain't nobody playing defense. And then you go watch the women play the WNBA, and they're going hard in the paint. They're pushing, fouling, talking crap, doing all types of stuff that we love. And
hate to jump in there,
no,
but
go ahead.
Here's what they like. They like that 1 or 2 guys who play defense, and they celebrate them, right? They give them the Defensive Player of the Year award. Yeah. So they do that with those kind of guys. Those kind of guys who decide they want to be that, they're going to make their money, and everybody else is fine. You're the defensive guy on our team. And so, you got a Defensive Player of the Year award, bro. You can have that. That ain't gonna. I don't know if that's gonna get you paid, but you can have that. I want to be the offensive guy and scoring points because you know what them points is gonna do for me, bro. They gonna get me money.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, but it ain't gonna get you red. We seen that with Luka.
No.
Luka Doncic. We seen that with Luka Doncic from the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, it was almost embarrassing the amount of defense he was playing because he just wasn't playing. I think in the last game or two, he kind of tightened it up. And we've seen that defense is going to win your championships. Defense is eventually going to win.
It always has, and it always will.
Yeah.
No matter what. I want to say one more thing because I had made a note of this earlier today that when West was at the Lakers, they had a 39-game win streak. Mm-hmm. Or 69 win streak.
That's over 2 seasons?
It had to be 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And 33, okay? I forgot how I stated that, Hollis. Now I'm messing myself up, but
okay.
They won 69. Yeah, they had a 69-game win streak. Okay? Mm-hmm. How is that? Or it had 69 wins and 33 straight wins, okay?
Yeah.
33 wins in a row.
Yeah, I saw that. I actually saw that.
33 wins in a row.
Mm-hmm.
In professional sports.
Yeah.
I could even make the case, if that's high school, that's unbelievable.
Yeah. College,
unbelievable. Professional, impossible.
Yeah. You know what? I think what happens in it seems to happen, I think, when we're just talking about American sports, particularly like in football and basketball, we tend to like move on from eras very quickly and forget eras. I think that where we're at now is that people are holding on to the Michael Jordan era, so that's being really held tightly, and it's actually going into 2 or 3 different eras of basketball now. And I think outside of the Michael Jordan era, just specifically in basketball, we tend to not look at those guys that played in the olden eras equally, right? I heard like the new coach of the JJ Redick, the new coach of the Lakers, he called Bob Cousy he tried to denigrate his greatness because of the era that he played in. We do that in football. We don't do that so much as we mentioned in baseball. Right. So I think that's what happens, and we tend to forget about that sometimes.
I think when you start going back to, like, let's say go back to Joe Montana, right? Like, so you go back to Joe Montana and you look and you try to say, okay, how would he fit today's game? I'm saying his stats would be triple to what they were then.
See, I don't even like to look at it like that.
But think about it. You're talking about throwing 15, maybe 20 times a game, where now you're throwing 30, 40 times a game.
Yeah, that's true.
On a regular basis. Imagine him and Rice and Taylor and even you could almost take any team.
Yeah.
But even with Roger Craig in the backfield throwing swing passes.
Mm-hmm. See, I don't like to look at it. I think you just gotta, look at them in the eras that they played in and appreciate the greatness and what was going on then. But you know what I mean?
But when you start but see, for me, if I'm going to try to compare, right? For me as a player, if I'm going to compare, I try to take and look at it and say, okay, Joe Montana, all of those great quarterbacks back in the day.
Yeah.
With the numbers that they have, and people have broken some of those records now, but they've thrown the ball 1,000 times more.
But I think you get into stuff when you start trying to do that. You get into these like illusionary arguments. Like there's no way to ever really compare, right? But what I can say is this. I can say, could he have played in the era where he had to stay in the pocket, go from under center, and take massive hits and still deliver the ball accurately? I think you can sort of say that. Could Montana, could he have been put in a shotgun, which he didn't like to be in a shotgun, and thrown 50 times a game? Would the stats have been double, or would he have thrown double, triple interceptions? You see what I'm saying? So I think that, like I said, it's no way to necessarily compare that. So you got to just appreciate it with what they did in their era.
Okay, I'm gonna agree with you, but I'm gonna say I think Dan Marino would struggle more than Montana.
I don't know.
Because he was under center. Most quarterbacks were under center most of the time, unless it's third down. They go to shotgun. But Marino was a 3-step drop kind of guy.
Yeah, he was in the shotgun a lot too.
So but the ball was coming out super quick.
Okay.
So maybe for him, because those routes aren't all the time available now, I could see. I think Montana could. I'm not sure if Marino.
Okay. Yeah, I don't. And like I said, I don't know. We're
bouncing around on that.
Know.
But you said you had something for me. What did you got something for me?
Well, I here's what I'll say. And we've talked about on this show, if you followed us for the last several months, we talked about sports and sort of maybe the de-evolution of parents' involvement in sports, that parents are taking a lead role in, from Little League on up. They want their voices to be heard. There was a story with Marshawn Lynch. He's at he's hosting a football camp or something, and some moms are yelling at him for yelling at the kids.
Right. Yeah.
And now, tonight's the NBA draft. And we got probably the biggest story is Bronny James, who is LeBron James's eldest son, who's entered the NBA draft, expected to get picked in the NBA draft, maybe possibly a first round late, or probably in the second round. Now, LeBron James's son, Bronny James, he averaged about 4 points at USC, shot about 30% I think less than 30% from the line. So, and many pundits who aren't, LeBron James apologists, who aren't trying to suck up to LeBron James and everything he has going on, are simply saying, man, there's no way this kid should get drafted. I mean, I could probably say there's probably a kid at State who would be better than this athletically and shown more, right? So is this the biggest example on a national stage that we're seeing of Daddyball? Is this, from everything we've talked about, is this the culmination of what it's going to be?
What is interesting is the term that you're using, Daddyball, because I mean, I'd make the case this is probably the epitome.
The epitome. That's the better word. That's a better word.
If there's such a thing as Daddyball, okay, this would be it. This would have to be it, because you're putting yourself and your son in a position to dictate the NBA draft.
The NBA draft. They're going 2 nights because of this. Essentially, we all know the NBA was really, it's about the first 10 picks and then everything else doesn't matter.
Don't even matter.
But now they're actually going 2 nights to make sure they don't miss Bronny James getting picked. And again,
let me just say this.
Go ahead.
What's crazy? Why is it so sure that he's going to go to the Lakers? How is it that everybody else is supposedly going to pass him up? Is that because he really ain't that, he's not qualified, or there's just there's a Daddyball set up that where nobody would dare draft him?
I'm not necessarily, I don't know if he's going to the Lakers. Again, I'm not going to make that claim. But what I will say,
I don't think there's any way he goes anywhere but to the Lakers.
To your point, it's probably correct. Consider, the stats I just mentioned. You averaged like 4 points in college. You stayed there 1 year. And again, he had the heart issue. We all get that. But even if you look at it athletically, he's barely 6'1". He doesn't have an elite athleticism. He's a good athlete, but not an elite athlete, right? And the thing I don't like about this is just that he takes the spot from another kid. It's another kid out there, whether that kid's in college or coming from overseas or in the G League. And if you actually get on the NBA roster, what does that say about? And again, I don't necessarily even have a problem with nepotism, but man, go to the G League, start from the bottom, dude. Why? How do you just get the spot?
I think he rightfully so. He belongs in the. He doesn't belong in the NBA. He doesn't belong there. Everything that I've read about him is his offense. Okay, so he's a defensive player. Somebody's 6'5". How you covering a 6'5" dude? I don't care how.
That's what I'm saying. You're 6'1" in the NBA. This ain't back in the day no more.
No,
this ain't like the small guard era.
What position? What position is he even like?
You would have to play point or to 2 guard 1.
Well, he can't go to Lakers because LeBron point.
Maybe you might move over.
I'm sure he would give that up. Yeah. To him, but I don't think he can handle it.
But let me ask you a different question. So, and I think we're probably in agreement about that. But because you've talked about role models and kind of starting from up and how that always works its way down into sports. How do you think something like this is going to have a lasting impact on sports? Are we going to see like other NBA dads kind of force their hand or play their cards or work their angles to get their sons in and leave other kids out? How do you think like this is going to be the mold for high schools to say, hey, you got my oldest son, he's starting, but if you don't treat him right, then my youngest son ain't coming, or if you want my oldest son, then my youngest son got it, or daughter or whatever. Do you think it has this effect?
I think we are witnessing right now the change in the NBA when it comes to fathers, sons. I think professional,
you throw wealth in there too,
and wealth. Yeah. And I think on top of that, I think it's not only just going to be basketball, but it's going to be football. It's going to be every sport that's a quote a team sport, and you have that LeBron James dad on top. How are you going to?
I don't think it works in football. I don't think it works I don't think it works in baseball.
But somebody's going to try it.
They're going to try. Yes. Because what they like, for example, a guy was listening to a guy online, and what he said is like basketball is not like a trench baby is the word that he used sport anymore. If you look at like the 18U USA basketball, it's filled with all former NBA players' sons on the team. You know what I'm saying? Because basketball, and you're competing nationally now, it costs a lot of money to do that AAU stuff and travel and do all that stuff. Yeah. So in order to get that look, in order to compete against the best, you got to have a little money, and you might even have to have a little status.
All right, we're going to take a quick break here, but when I come back, I want to talk to you about the AAU circuit and how beneficial is it? Mm-hmm. How beneficial do you think it is? We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Comment on episodes, ask Carl and Hollis questions, or suggest topics at our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation.
Let's face it, bad things happen to good people. Seriously injured in a car accident, trucking accident, or even wrongfully arrested. Life happens, and when it happens to you, you will need sound legal advice and aggressive representation. That's when you call attorney Frank Walker at 304-413-0179. That's 304-413-0179. Lock it in your phone, text it to a friend. 304-413-0179. Or visit online at attorneyfrankwalker.com.
Find previous episodes of Let's Talk at WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk. This is Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. And again, want to give a shout out to our presenting sponsor, attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. So, Hollis, where does this go? Where does this situation with Daddyball, where does it go?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Because I think you said earlier on going out, like the fear is, right, is everybody who has a kid is going to think their kid is good enough.
Yeah, well, I think what happens too is that, particularly like if you have somebody of a status, that's going to weigh heavy. I think that we've already seen it manifest in like AAU and travel sports where, you know, for example, West Virginia used to be a state with like one or two, maybe three teams as far as like AAU is concerned.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that too.
Now there's a plethora of there's so many teams you can't even count because, hey, if my kid's not playing, I'll just go pull him and start my own team. And so it can water things down, and it puts you in a position maybe far as a kid is concerned where you're not earning it.
Is there some false reality in AAU sports and travel sports of winning? Like some, you know, a lot of these teams will say, oh, we went somewhere and we won a national championship. Yeah. Well, a national championship means every team that's available. There's no way you were in that situation because all these teams are not playing in all these different leagues. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right to a degree. In my view on like travel sports, AAU it's a little bit conflicted. And hopefully we can get my guy on, Jonathan Frazier. He's actually going to they're opening up a new charter school in Huntington. It's going to be a sports-based, academic-based sort of school. We're going to focus heavy on athletics and academics. But sort of talking to him, and, you know, I guess you could look at it one or two ways. On one hand, if your son or your daughter is an elite athlete at whatever particular sport, and you're not finding capable coaches, capable trainers, that's one thing. So maybe you might have to go nationally to figure that out. You might have to travel. And we've seen it like gymnastics. They'll go to Columbus. They'll go 2-3 hours just to practice and be a part of what particular club. And then on the other hand, again, if your kid is that elite athlete, basketball player, whatever, and they're not finding the right competition, so that means they're dominating their local community or state or whatever, then those AAU tournaments might be useful in order to, you know, round out the competition so they can see exactly how they measure against other kids. And I would say, and finally, I'll let you go, basketball, similar to soccer and baseball, are moving to a national style. So you have to almost figure out where you're nationally ranked and that will help you project where you're going as far as college and professional level.
Okay, I'm gonna challenge a couple things there, and I'm really curious to see what you say. One, I'm not sure if a AAU ranking can't rank every team in the country because they can't see every team in the country.
Yeah, and you play your different circuits.
You know, I don't buy that you have to. AAU is the only way to be successful. I'd make the case.
I didn't say only way.
Well, that it's.
I said it depends on your situation.
And okay, so I know Robert Alexander didn't do any of that kind of stuff.
But that's back in the day. You can't compare that.
But see, why do you say that you can't compare that?
Because I can say Randy Moss did AAU. Randy Moss ran. They played AAU.
What did he play AAU in?
They played basketball, and they were nationally ranked.
But
went
not
to the
football.
champions.
Not football.
Not football. Okay,
but
that's
his
different
thing.
though.
But that was his thing.
But what I'm saying though is that
he didn't need that.
They're after 14, there is no. Well, I can say that after 14, there is no travel ball. However, there's 7-on-7, and there are national 7-on-7 teams. Dwayne Harris played on a national 7-on-7 team.
I know.
So it does show improve. It can show skill set. Because here's what, and I'll let you go. And I'm sorry to overtalk you.
No,
but
you're all right.
What they said was what they said is that here's how it goes, and this is what I heard from some coaches. The coach will come see you. So whatever college you thinking about going to, see your sophomore, your junior year, they'll come visit you. They'll figure out, hey, we liked what we saw. Maybe they don't offer you. You know how you get the little in-school visits.
Yep.
And then in the summer, you go to these camps, you go to these 7-on-7s, you run, you do your skill work, you do your lift, do all that stuff. And that way, maybe if the coach didn't offer you during the first visit, when he comes and see you at these national camps, now they can get a validation. Oh, this kid is working hard. Look, he's got faster. He's stronger. His skill set's improved, and now we're offering them. So a lot of these camps are validations that say, hey, what I thought you were is what you are, or you work towards. So I'm starting to see there is some usefulness in the camps. Rankings, again, may not be all that, maybe a farce, right?
But the scary thing to me in that is, okay, so like basketball, you got 5 starters.
Yeah.
Okay. So you gotta stand out of all those 5.
Yeah.
Right? Where in football it's an individual position and they specifically watch your thing. So I'm more mindset in that area. So I know that when a scout's gonna come see me at high school, I know I got to run. I know what I got to do, those kind of things. But that's going to be just me. Now, in practice, what he's going to see, he's going to watch me tackle. When you have tackle drills, whatever, you scrimmaging or whatever, he's going to watch all those kind of things.
Watch how you practice, too.
Watch how you practice, too. Yeah. Basketball, again, is one of those kind of things. I still see basketball, and I could be dead wrong. So I'm putting this out there, making the case that I could be wrong in it. Mm-hmm. It's still based on an individual thing. So whether you're playing at your high school or you're playing in an AAU situation, your game is still going to be your game.
Nah, see, I disagree with that. Because, I mean, you playing against inferior competition.
What if you get beat down? What if your team is not capable enough to beat that team? So your team beats me.
But what I'm saying.
And you beat me bad.
Okay, but.
And so I got a kid on that team.
But what I'm saying is this. If you're a point guard, let's say you're the point guard, and you're playing at a national AAU tournament, and you're playing against a far superior team. If I'm a point guard, if I'm a coach, I'm needing a point guard, I'm watching that point, I'm interested in that point guard. Even though his team is getting beat, I can still see how he performs against that upper level of competition. Is he getting the ball off? Is he able to drive to the hoop? Is he able to create his own shot? Even if they aren't necessarily all going in, and like I said, that team is better, you can still see those little nuances in how he's performing, how he or she is performing against top level competition. And I think now, whether we like it or not, man, the game is moving even beyond the state. It's moving national. And I think that's the way sports are going to go. And I think with the but with the rollout of charter schools throughout, multiple states in America, it's going to move to sort of a national competing circuits. And maybe your circuit is depending on how well you did, and you move up, move down. Has
sports, one of the terms that I don't hear a lot, student athlete,
because it's not that no more.
And with the outside sports from the school, right? So AAU, travel, all of that stuff's outside of the school. Mm-hmm. I have the ability to be a 1-9 student, be ineligible in football, basketball, baseball in my school, and still be able to do these kinds of sports. But it won't benefit me because I still need the academics. And I think that's an important piece, because I think we still have to focus on the student athlete. And I get that the star student athlete is bringing money into the school.
Yeah.
It's benefiting the school. It's benefiting the community. It's benefiting everybody that's on that team. Mm-hmm. But I think we still have to, and I'm not saying I'm going to say we don't promote student athlete. I'm not saying it's not there, but we don't promote how relevant the student
athlete. It's a farce. It is a farce. You can't say I'm a student athlete, but you got guys making hundreds of thousands of $1 million like at 18 when they go to college. And the fact of the matter is, what I don't like about those conversations, why aren't we looking at sports as a vocation? Just like the guy or the girl who would go to, a Ben Franklin or Carver or a technical school in high school in order to get those credits to be an electrician, plumber, whatever, or they're going to be a nurse or LPN. Why are we looking at sports as a vocation?
I think they're scared of that.
But what I'm saying is that's where it's at now. Because when we look at things like the IMG Academy in Florida, that's a vocation school for sports. When we look at what my guy Jonathan Frazier was trying to do in Huntington, open up that school, I forget the name of it. That's a vocation institution for sports. So I think it's fine that we say, okay, you're going to focus on sports over here. Yeah, you got to get your academics. We're going to make sure all that's tight, but you're going to be practicing 2 or 3 times a day to be the best you can be at this particular thing. Just like if you were, doing anything else. Just like if this was a robotics school or math school or performing arts school, where the focus, we're going to make sure you get your English, science, and all that.
Right. But
you're going to learn to sing, dance, and play your instrument.
Would you be willing to go to that school? If you were coming out, would that be something that you would be interested in?
100%.
Really?
Because I tell people this all the time. I was arguing with a guy online the other day. Academically, I did way better in college and law school than I did in high school. I was a far superior student just because, like I said, when I got to college, I was with you, was my coach. It was structured. We had to do this, do this, and this. And somehow that structure that we got to get up for meetings, we got to do this, we got to be on to da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Somehow that structure carried over into the classroom. And because it was more rigid than what a high school is, and in college, the structure is different. When you're not tasked with a busy work, it's more of a learning endeavor, right?
Right.
Where I'm learning about things I'm interested in. It all carried over and it all melted into me by the time I got to my second and third year in college. I was a really, really, really good student. So I would definitely want to be in a situation, and I think the younger that you can get those kids in those types of situations, because what these schools are saying, they're not saying like, well, it's or it's you go pro or die. They're saying we're going to make sure we focus on that and to build you a pathway in order to be successful in anything else you want to do.
What's interesting to me is, when we start talking about who's the issue in sports, high school,
it's definitely parents. Going back to the Bronny James.
Yeah. So when we go back and we try to say, okay, well, who's the issue? We find it being the parent, right? Because the kids don't necessarily know. The parents kind of make the judgment of how good their kid is and da-da-da-da-da and all that kind of stuff. In that kind of a situation, in that kind of a structure, that would take the parent, to me, that would take the parent out of the mix. So now it's you 100%. As a coach, you as a school who is creating this structure for me, because I think when parents think that they're creating a structure, I don't know if they know
that's
that
the thing.
I don't think that they know that they're what they're actually creating.
I don't think most parents want to create a structure. They just want to dictate the structure. They want to say, this is what you should do.
You should do for my kid.
For my kid. They don't necessarily want to create that on day to day because they may not know or they may not have the time, but they want to dictate the structure. So I think if you have a vocational school, that again is no different from a performing arts school, no different than a math, science, STEM school, robotics school. It's no different than any of that. And a structure is created. We're saying we're going to make sure that we focus not only on you just running games, we're going to make sure we're getting your nutrition right. We're going to make sure we're doing, strength and speed training that's right for you. And we're going to make sure that your skill level is proficient and superior in this particular thing that you're focusing on. Because here's the thing and even if you have a kid that just wants to go to college, doesn't necessarily want to be a professional athlete, if I can send my kid to a school like that from middle school to high school and have them train, be ready, and then they can go ahead and get a college scholarship, man, that paid for itself. It's as expensive as college is right now. And
that point right there, if if you use a sport to get a college scholarship, I don't care if it's a partial.
Yeah.
If you can get college financial help through athletics, are you kidding me?
Yeah. So, but I think it's going to, I think, like I said, just kind of going back to the conversation, I think that I think we're moving to a national model. I think, schools are going to have to start to think bigger about not just being their community. They're going to start state and region, nation. And, when we look at situations like Bronny James and LeBron James, to me, this isn't helping Bronny James. Because would it be better for him to fight for it and have to grind for it and maybe go through another year of college and really go through the mud, not getting drafted, and really have to fight to come up, or is it going to be good for him just to get drafted?
What is the rush?
What's the rush?
What is the rush?
And again, it just goes back to what we were saying. It's like parents getting out of the way of it. So, and I don't know if this is good, and I think that we're going to have to create a system for parents just to get out the way.
All right, so I'm gonna ask this crazy question to you, okay? LeBron's had like 4 head coaches.
For the Lakers?
For the Lakers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. For the Lakers.
Okay. So
he got to get a new coach every other year.
Yes. So isn't it almost perfect that he would be the dude dictating his son to get drafted to his team that he's on and likely start?
Yeah. He ain't gonna start now. Come on, that's out of bounds.
I'm just saying.
We'll say he picked the coach too.
Yes, and
again,
everything about that is wrong. And everybody sees it.
And this is what I'm saying about the whole situation, where you have a guy. And again, I'm a Laker fan. I love the Lakers, but I'm a Laker fan. If LeBron left and he just leave, I'm a Laker fan. So what I'm saying is that you have a guy with so much power that he essentially handpicked a coach with no experience that's gonna make $4 million a year, and I ain't counting his pocket and counting his money, but with no experience, that's knocking a experienced assistant coach out of that position. Because I'm sure Hurley and Redick wasn't the only two that applied, if that's how you do it, and can possibly bring his son, who ain't got no business being on nobody's NBA team, on the team. That's ridiculous. And this is where we're at.
And that was the plan. I mean, that was a strategic plan. That wasn't accident. That wasn't accidental.
Ain't nobody ever. Nobody's putting that together.
They know,
but I ain't heard nobody say it.
They can't say it. Who's gonna say it?
Well, you're right.
Who's gonna say it?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it makes me so mad because it's just like, why are we doing this? This is where we at. Like, and again, to round this conversation out, it goes back to a guy like Jerry West, who is a GM, a real basketball mind, would never.
No.
Would never.
We're not getting your son, but if you got to go, because we ain't getting him, you got to go.
You got to go.
Yes.
He would have tried to get him some picks, or Jerry West, Pat Riley would have just, wrote you off, and we're going to start this thing anew.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. And I think that's the power when we look at a guy like Jerry West and his ilk. This is what they present. They're going to build franchises for a long haul. And I think what happens is, like LeBron, just like what happened in Cleveland, just like what happened in Miami. So when he's done with Cleveland is off the map.
Right.
And when he gets done with LA, it's going to take us years to rebuild from this crap that we had to go through dealing with him. This is ridiculous.
Does he, in his mind, though? Does he in his mind think that he's the reason why those teams go because he was so great for that team?
Definitely. And he's right about that. Yeah. LeBron is that great. I ain't taking nothing away from him. But I think this iteration of him, like towards the end of his career, wanting to play with his son, trying to dictate moves in order to make this happen, really just trying to be the coach and just have J.J. Redick has, just the dude. J.J. Redick is the assistant coach. LeBron's the coach.
Yes, that basically.
You know what I'm saying?
And everything about that is wrong.
But I just say, hey, just have a player coach. Why? Just go back old school. Go Bill Russell.
Yeah, just call it what it is.
Call it what it is.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
All right. Well, we're gonna, as we get ready to try to close this out. We had talked on the phone about my trip to Minnesota and some of the guys and that I hung out with, and one of the more interesting guys
And your trip, you did a 2-week trip.
I did about a 2-week autographs and golf tournaments, and between the Dakotas and Minneapolis, we started out with a legend golf outing in Minnesota, and then
Viking alums,
and then as we got over into South Dakota, North Dakota, we did a whole host of different stuff, signing. We actually was going to go to a Journey concert, but the weather didn't hold up. The weather kind of wasn't really perfect. It ended up we had a couple days at 67 degrees while we was up there. That's so it was a little chilly because I was used to the
bacon,
the hot heat, it was humidity. Yeah. So, but I had me and Chuck Foreman, and for those who don't know, Chuck Foreman, and we're going to have him as a guest by phone, as hopefully maybe even possibly next week. Had the nickname the Spin Doctor. And for everybody who's ever done a spin move as a running back, Chuck Foreman is the creator of that move. And to me, in my mind, I'm thinking, what prompted him to even do that the first time and then turn it into a normal thing?
Because this is effective.
It is. Yeah, it's major. It's a major, an effective move. But I wanted to talk a little bit about him because just to kind of give you a little bit of a background of who he is. Chuck is that guy. University of Miami. He comes to Minnesota and literally changes the whole running back position. He's now this guy that you can throw the ball to the back, out of the backfield. He's spinning when you try to tackle him, like just all the things that like the league has not seen. But Chuck has a unique personality, and it's funny because me and him, we somewhat have like we think along the same lines, and we have the same type of mannerisms in a way, from getting mad at something, the types of things that we get mad at. Me and him are kind of like right on the same page, and it's interesting to me to even think, because I can remember him as a kid, and now that I'm sitting around chit-chatting with him, hanging out with him, it's crazy, man. And I was just wondering, like, what was your kind of knowledge of him? I know, like, because you were a lot younger. I was gonna say you probably didn't have
knowledge. Like, I was gonna ask you, when did he play? What was
Chuck came in? I want to say he came in like 70. I came in 83. I missed Chuck by a couple of years. I think he played 8 or 9 years.
Okay.
So
I've heard the name vaguely, but I had no concept.
When you start, this is the guy, University of Miami. Like, he changed for every time you threw the ball out of the backfield to a back, that came from Chuck Foreman. That literally was the Minnesota Vikings new offense, basically, because he could catch the ball out of the backfield. Okay. And
he played with Fran Tarkenton.
Yes,
right?
Yes. And that was all the greats. That was the Vikings when they were hitting the Super Bowls. Yeah. And just a great guy, man. I can't wait to have him on the show, and I know you'll be ready to ask him some questions.
Sure.
But I think the interesting component about having him being on, I think, is going to be his story about being with the Vikings. His story, because he's not a happy player. Okay.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah, he's not. He knows how good he was. He knows what he was worth, and he'll make the case probably that he didn't get all that he deserves.
Is he in the Hall of Fame? Is he in the Ring of Honor?
I think we talked about that. I don't think he's in. I don't know if he's in the ring. And I just found out that even Tommy Kramer's not in the ring. And I'm mad because I ain't in the ring. Yeah. And I'm thinking like, well, come on. But I don't think Chuck is in the Hall. Okay. And again, here's a guy who shaped the league. Like, every back that's catching the ball out of the backfield, that was Fran and him. They started that. How do you not do something?
That's gonna be interesting.
So
let me ask you this.
Okay.
We'll go out. Okay, so the NHL finals were Monday. Florida Panthers got up 3-0 against the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers came all the way back to push it to Game 7. Panthers ended up winning Game 7. They win a Stanley Cup. So, would you rather a team, you're in the championship, you're in the series, would you rather for that team just to beat you down, close you out 3-0, or just whoop you 58-0 or whatever like that? Or would you rather have to push that team all the way to the last second, the last game, and get beat that way?
I'm gonna tell you the story of our NFC Championship loss.
Okay.
We're traveling down the field. We're down around about the 7 or 8 yard line. We're playing Washington.
Okay, Washington.
We're playing Washington, and throw the pass. It was going to Anthony Carter, but Darren Nelson was in the mix.
Okay.
In between it, so he thought it was going to him. So he attempted to try to catch it, dropped it. We lose.
Okay. And it's,
at the end of the game,
what's the score?
Oh gosh, I don't remember the score, but it's tight.
Okay.
We score, we win.
Okay.
We score, we win.
Right.
This drive, all we got to do is go down, score, and we win. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're in the Super Bowl. We're heading to the Super Bowl.
Okay,
first Super Bowl since back in the day.
Yeah.
So and we're thinking we think we didn't already beat the 49ers, the best team ever. There's people are talking about it. We beat them down, beat the Saints. We get in there in Washington, and losing right at that final second.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the sideline, and I'm looking at it. I see Darren Nelson try to put his hand up. And everybody says that AC was open, Anthony Carter from Michigan. And he went up to try to catch it and didn't catch it. And game over. It was like when you get in the locker room and you're sitting there and you're thinking about it. You're like, I really do think I would have rather been blown out in that game so that I know we didn't have no chance at it.
See, and that's my point. I almost would have rather been blown out just to say you're clearly better than I was.
Yes.
And I didn't make the mistake to lose the game.
Right.
Like I didn't do anything to hurt myself. It's just that you are just far better that day or whatever than I am.
And I hate the fact that, I mean, the story, you can't tell that story without bringing up their name. You know, and I know that I don't know how he feels about it. I'm sure he hates the idea behind it. Mm-hmm. But it is what it is, you know. And again, I think it was Wade Wilson was the quarterback, and like I said, he said he was throwing it to AC. AC was back in the corner of the end zone, and got it there. And
it might not have been a good throw.
He could have dropped it.
Yeah,
the possibility,
or maybe it just wasn't a good throw.
Wasn't a good throw.
You know what I'm saying?
But because he ran the wrong route, he ran the wrong route and was in the path.
So he ran the wrong route.
Yes.
Okay, so then it wasn't. I ain't gonna blame a quarterback then on that one. See, and that's what I'm saying. In a situation like that, that's what I'm saying. Because clearly you're thinking and I bet you can't help but think y'all were better than Washington.
Yeah.
It just but not for that mistake.
All we needed was there not to be in that position.
If you're not there,
we catch the ball and we win the game. And we're in the Super Bowl.
And you're in the Super Bowl.
And now you're thinking you're gonna win it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because you're there.
Yeah, because you're there.
Huh.
So, well, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end. That's the end story there. Just want to make sure we thank Frank Walker, Real Talk, Real Experience, Real Results, FrankWalkerLaw.com. All righty.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real Talk, Real Experience, Real Results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Comment on episodes, ask Carl and Hollis questions, or suggest topics at our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation.
If you fall, dust it off and get back up on your feet. Anything could be a win, yup, even defeat. They say sugar bad for you, why is victory sweet? Couldn't play with big kids, I had to sit in the street and watch from a distance, but over time I grew. If I put in the work, in no time I'm due. Everything that I worked and prayed, I'm okay. If you ask me, how did I do it, I'm gon' say, you gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting in, you gotta work, grind, shine, never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work. 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 You gotta work.